Oh, hey, what's up, you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I'm going to be showcasing you guys my brand new, current format, probably the deck I'm going to be playing moving on, because I really do like this deck a lot, and that is the NATURIA RUNIck ISHIZU deck. So, it's something new I've been trying. I've seen a lot of people play this and have success with it. I saw Pack do very well with it. I've seen a few people at locals play it, and I was really curious as to how it worked. I did play against like the NATURIA ISHIZU variant at the YCS that passed in Pasadena, but other than that, I never really tried it with the runic stuff, and after doing the testing with it, it's actually a lot of fun. So what I should disclaim before we do start the profile is that this is a very outgrind your opponent kind of deck. It's not really anything that sets up too crazy of a board, but with the board that you are typically setting up, it usually ends on like about like anywhere between like 3 to 5 interruptions, depending on how well you draw off of the runic stuff. But the deck's a lot of fun. It's definitely fun if you want to take a break from like the meta. Like I know you guys are tired of Sprite, so I'm not going to try and play Sprite anymore. I opted for this instead because it was just more versatile, and I really like the different kind of routes that you can take it. But without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and jump into the profile. So starting off with the main deck, we do play 3 copies of Naturia Mole Cricket. What this one does is that it basically is a Lone Fire Blossom for any Naturia card. You tribute it, and then it's a quick effect, so that's very nice as well. And you get to summon a Naturia monster from your deck to the field, and then if your opponent controls a higher attack monster than you do, even if it's tied, then you can special summon up to 2 Naturia monsters, which is really busted. Also, if this card is in the graveyard, what it does is that you can special summon it back to the field when your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, or if you summon a Naturia monster from the extra deck. So this card definitely has a lot of usages. It's very, very nice, and I really can't complain. This is basically a really fun card to play with the deck. We are then on 3 copies of Camellia. This card is a Foolish Burial for any Naturia card. What it does is that when it's normal or special summon, you can send a Naturia card from your deck to the graveyard, and if you would tribute a monster to activate a Naturia monster's effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard instead. So basically, it makes it to where it's kind of like a Nat Beast, and when you pair it with a Naturia Sunflower, you can make it to where Naturia Sunflower is just never ending. Sunflower's effect is that you can tribute a Naturia monster and this card to negate the effect of a monster and destroy it. But basically, since you don't have to tribute this, when you have this on the field, you can just mill the top 2 cards of your deck instead. So very, very nice. It is a very small Naturia component. We only play the 7. I have seen people play Stinkbug. I don't really like Stinkbugs so far during the testing. I do like these though. They're definitely a lot of fun. I wanted to keep the engine very small because we do have ways of recycling it. For the Ishizu component, we do play 2 copies of Kelbeck, and then I'm on 2 copies of Keldo and 2 copies of Medora. This might change. I'm still going back and forth on the ratios, but so far I have struggled with getting cards into the graveyard, so that's why I opted to put the Kelbecks in. I was playing 3 Keldo, 3 Medora, but I ended up bricking on multiples of them, so I opted to just try and take out the 1/3 of each and then play the 2 Kelbeck. I really want to play an Orange Light, but I don't have one, oddly enough, so I would probably play 41 with the Orange Light, but right now I'm at a clean even 40, and I'm really proud of that. But basically, having the Kelbeck trigger is very nice to be able to get your engine running in the graveyard, because there's very important cards that you can hit to keep it going. But right now, this is what I'm on. I don't know how this is doing too well because I haven't taken it to locals yet. I've literally just been playing online, but we have to test it because I do want to keep trying to play this deck and master it as much as I can. So that's it for the Ishizu lineup. For the Bistle, since we are playing 40, I played a smaller lineup than usual. I am on 2 Magnemite, 2 Druis Worm, and 1 Serenir. The Serenir is just here for variety, basically to where if I open up like these 2, then I can just go ahead and search the Serenir at end phase. I don't want to really like brick on too many of these as well, but since we are at 40, I wanted to just make sure that I wasn't bricking on any of these. I wanted to just be able to resolve searching these or drawing into them off of the runic cards. But so far I really like the 5. If you want to play 6, you can by playing the 3rd Magna and then either playing 3 Druis Worm, which I do see a lot, and I don't disagree with it. I think it is really good, but I just like variety, so I do play the Serenir for that reasoning. And if you do play the Serenir or not the Serenade, the third Magnuma, then you'd be at like 41, and if you play the orange light, you'd be at 42. So you can definitely do that if you want, but I just wanted to try and keep it close to 40 as much as possible. But that is it for the pistols. Then for the spell lineup, basically just the Runic lineup, potentially. You do play the double fountain, 3 copies of Tip, definitely the best one in the deck. You play 3 copies of Runic Freezing Curses. This is the effect negation, so basically the end perm of the deck, and it's very good. 3 copies of Flashing Fire, which is just the Baron Pop one. And then we play 3 Destruction, of course. You're mainly using this one to just summon your guy, but it's Spell and Trap Disruption, and then they banish 4 cards from their deck, so that's very nice. And then we play 3 copies of Slumber, because this is probably the best one that you could draw your turn 1 to be able to trigger your fountain if you don't have Tip. So definitely have to play these. You could play Dispelling, and you could play like the Golden Droplet if you want. I just don't really like those cards too much. Droplet just gives your opponent way too much advantage, so I do like this lineup instead. And you basically see all of these anyway, especially with the 40 card main deck. And then if you're milling the cards off of the Kelbeck as well, you have a really good chance of seeing all of these cards and then making your fountain as light as possible. But I don't know. I'm still testing it. If I do want to throw in more, I'll let you guys know in an update. But I haven't taken it to locals because I've been super busy this holiday season. But going forward, I do eventually want to pan out and try to play this deck in person. And then rounding out the main deck to make it 40, we are on 2 copies of Blessing. I have seen people play 3 of this. I do like the reasoning behind 3, but you have such a really easy way of recycling and getting to it that I felt like playing 3 of them was just a little bit too cloggy. And then Blessing is also just not once per turn, as well as Naturia Sacred Tree. This card is also not once per turn, which it should be because it's insane, but you can activate these as many times as you see it. So I didn't want to really like brick on this one because this one is actually just better because you have better ways of getting it into the graveyard, either off of your Runic cards or just the milling off of the Ishizu and stuff in the extra deck. But that's going to round off the main deck. We are on a full 40 card main deck, no more, no less. For the extra deck, we are on double copies of Huggin. I shouldn't have to explain this one too much. What it does is that you can on summon discard a card from your hand to add the fountain, and it's any field spell, but you're basically getting a fountain because it's the only one. What it also does is that another card you control would be destroyed by a card effect. You can just banish this card instead. And if it's destroyed by battle or card effect, it just goes back to the extra deck. So you definitely have ways of getting this back into the extra deck, either with its own effect or through the likes of the Ishizu cards. So I didn't really want to play 3, just felt like it wasn't necessary. 1 copy of Gary, basically just here for the level 4 extra summon. If you don't want to make Hyun, it's there for that reason as well. My favorite part of the extra deck is the synchros. So we do play 1 copy of Nat Beast because Mole Cricket is a 1 card Naturia Beast turn 1. Basically what you do is you go Mole Cricket summons out the Camellia sends the tree gets you Blessing, and Blessing summons back out the Cricket, and then you just have a level 5 synchro right there. So you're basically making the Nat Beast almost every turn 1 that you see the Mole Cricket, so that's very nice. And then we're also playing Coral Dragon. Coral Dragon's really good. I see a lot of people playing it in their list, and I get why, because Hugin and the Camellia is just an instant Coral Dragon, so you make this like going second or going first, depending on if your opponent pistols you or not. And it really just depends on that reasoning. But if they're not pistoling you, you're probably making Charge Warrior. Charge Warrior on summon gets you a free draw, and then when you have the Blessing, then you can just go ahead and reborn and back out, and then you can go into your 10s, which is really, really nice. I'm also playing a Cyframe Lord Omega, and I'm playing a Trishula as well, just as extra cards to summon. You don't really need to play these cards. You could play like more Links if you want to, but I really do like these cards because I'm playing Gamma in the side deck, so it definitely makes the Omega a little bit more live there. And it's also just very nice in case you just end up with 2 level 4s on the field, and one of those level 4s is Camellia. So very good card in that way. Trishula is just there for like going second, or if you like keep ripping cards out of the hand of your opponent, then you can just Trish them and just have a good time from there. But it's basically just there as like a flex spot. I don't know. I don't really know what else to play. This is still just early iterations, and I'm just still testing the waters right now. One copy of the Sword Soul Chenying. This card is actually just insane in this deck. It's very easy to make because, again, Charge Warrior or Coral Dragon with any other level 4 that you have, either it's the Naturia cards or it's the Ishizu stuff. It really just depends on your board presence, but Chenying is very easy to make, as well as Baron de Flor. Definitely the best Synchro 10 in the game, so you definitely have to play it. But that's it for the Synchro lineup. And then I play a few rank 4s. I played one Abyss Dweller, one Baguska, and one Dagaris. This is very standard in the Ishizu deck. But I do like these cards just for its versatility. This just to help you keep digging. This for Flu and for tier elements, depending on your opening hand. And then the Dweller, of course, is for mainly just tier. The biggest thing that I kind of regret is not having something for Sprite, because I think Sprite is definitely the worst matchup for this deck. It's really hard to tell, to be honest, but when you play like the Runick cards that keep destroying your opponent's shit, it basically just makes up for the matchup. But that's it for the 4s, and then we do play a Beatrice as well. Beatrice just helps you get a Shuffler into the graveyard if you don't have it already. It can also send Sacred Tree to get you your combo lines going if you open up too many Bistles going second, or whatever the case is, but Beatrice is just there for your Bistles. And then the last card I play in the extra deck is an Azza, because Azza can be made with the Naturia cards, and then you could just start taking back your opponent's tier element, or not tier elements, the Ishizu cards in their graveyard, and then you could use them for your own benefit, whether it's making a Synchro or an Xyz play, but Azza's just there for that good reasoning. Lastly, I'm going to show you guys the side deck. We are on the Driver and the 3 Gamma, of course. Definitely feel like it's very mandatory in this deck, especially when you're playing up against Floowandereeze, where the Bistles are just dead. So you basically side out all the Bistles, and then you throw in like these cards. I do play 3 Jewel and Lockbird as well, because this card is insane. But basically when I do play against Flu, I side out the Bistles, and then probably, I don't know, the Shufflers as well, and then we just kind of go from there. Just keep the Runick stuff in, but the Ishizu cards and the Bistles are definite side outs against those decks. But we are also playing 3 Talents and 3 Dark Hole. Basically, like, you could side all this in against Flunder, you could side this all in against Sprite as well. All these cards are really broken against Sprite. And I'm just rounding up the side deck with Solemn Judgment. I don't really know what else to put here. I wanted to play Change of Heart, I wanted to play Mind Control, I wanted to play like all these other board breakers, but the problem I have with it is that going first, you don't really have like any hard negation just to be able to just stop whatever your opponent sides in. So I just opted for 2 copies of Judgment, just for like a little bit of extra protection, because sometimes you don't end on the Baron for that Omni Negate, and then Nat Peace can only get you so far because it's very easy to attack over. All they have to do is Bistle you once, and then your Beast is basically gone. But yeah, guys, that's just going to be the first draft for this deck. I do want to keep playing it going forward because I do think this deck is a lot of fun. I just need to keep testing the waters. I need to keep seeing like what kind of preferences I like, but this is all just a rough draft. I do want to keep building going forward. I really do like this deck. I think it's a lot of fun, especially like if you're like kind of on a budget, because the deck is fairly cheap minus like the Runick engine. But other than that, I don't think there's really too much else to say. It does play around Bistles, which was like a big problem I was having with the current format, is that you kind of have to play Bistles and everything to kind of like compete with the meta right now. And I didn't really like that like kind of concept, but when you play it with the Naturia cards and it's making it even harder for them to Bistle you during your turn, it's not too bad. So I can't really complain. And then like the Ishizu cards are broken, being able to shuffle back your opponent's stuff is very, very nice. But I don't know, we have to keep seeing what the future holds for this deck. But yeah, guys, until next time, this has been Papa, and I will catch you all in my next video. Take care, everyone.